and welcome. It is so nice to have you with us. We do this show called Cannabis Talk A to Z, and I call it an educational odyssey because that's what it is. We are all becoming educated about this miraculous plant. And there's an area of education that we don't spend enough time on, that we don't really understand. It's women's health. Joining us today, and I'm so thrilled, is Dr. Cheryl Selman, naturopathic doctor, board certified in integrative medicine. And she's an educator, a women's natural health expert, psychotherapist. She has written numerous books. Her bestseller is Hormone Heresy and What Women Must Know to protect their daughters from breast cancer. And her new book that just hit the shelves is called Hemp Revolution, the A to Z health benefits of hemp extract. And Dr. Cheryl Selman, welcome to Cannabis Talk A to Z. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, Frankie, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me on the show today.
One of the things that I've been learning about as of recent is that many people have had this myth that cannabis makes you stupid. And we're realizing now that there is a protective and regenerative effect on your brain cells from cannabis. And it's been shown by MRIs to even improve the brain function in Alzheimer's patients and people with seizure disorders.
I know, isn't that amazing? You know, the hemp extract part of the cannabis plant, that's the part, of course, that does not have the psychoactive effect, has been shown to have a direct impact on the hippocampus. And when you are under stress and have an endocannabinoid deficiency and also showing a risk factor for Alzheimer's, it's the hippocampus that is the most vulnerable. That's where we store our short-term memory. So that's the first place where we show signs of impairment. And hemp extract and I guess medical marijuana can help restore the hippocampus. We can actually improve our memory when we get our endocannabinoid tone up to par.
We have been talking about this on the show for a couple of weeks now, about finding the right dosage, finding the right product, finding that moment where you've hit it on the mark. They call it the sweet spot. And one of the things that we as women are not really, I don't think, as aware of is the amount of stress that we go through in a day, and men as well. But I want to talk a little bit about the women and this CBD, this hemp extract that you've written about in your new book, Health Revolution, has the ability to really make daily functions better. And it helps with the stress. It helps with women with PMS. You of all people can share with us what's happening when women go to a doctor for PMS. They're now giving them a different version of Prozac. I think it's disgraceful and disgusting. Personally, I just think we don't need more medications. This is not a medical condition. This is something.
Well, we've had such great conversations about this previously, Frankie, and I always like to say that women with whatever hormonal issue they have are medicalized and pathologized for profit. So yes, women women are 4 times more likely to have migraines and anxiety and irritable bowel disease and fibromyalgia. Women are just more vulnerable. Our hormones are much more complicated and affect us on many levels. And when women feel out of sorts or hormonally out of balance and they go to get help from their doctor, gynecologist, or endocrinologist, they're going to be medicated. And that's not solving the problem. That's not restoring the body to balance. And I always like to say hormones, when they're out of balance, are trying to get our attention that we need to make some changes. The body's going help. It's not some fate that we have because we're women. It's a sign. It's a symptom. Pay attention.
you have written about some exciting things that this plant, the hemp portion of the plant, so you're never going to get high. This is not with THC. This is just the CBD, the cannabidiol. But you have listed in your new book some exciting ways that this hemp extract can help. Something as simple as acne.
I was so thrilled to be doing this research because it was a revelation to me as well. When we understand our endocannabinoid system, and I know you've talked about this many times on the show, but I'll just go over it briefly so people can really get the
importance
of this endocannabinoid system.
What does that word mean, by the way? Tell everybody what that word means. It's a big word, so do share.
Yes. So what happened was in the 1990s, research out of Israel discovered not just the components of the hemp plant, but that led them to the realization that we have an entire new system that was never known before. And this system they call the endocannabinoid system. It is the cannabinoids are they receptor sites in our body. They're molecules that fit into these receptor sites. They're called cannabinoids, and our body makes them naturally. And the thing about this system, it's the major system that controls all the other systems in our body. So that means if this major endocannabinoid system is functioning properly, it will support optimal heart health, it will manage pain, it will manage hormones, it will manage brain function, it controls our immune system, everything. So why it's so important is that we are all under stress, we're nutritionally deficient, and this endocannabinoid system becomes deficient. In fact, women, we're going back to women, are 3 times more vulnerable to this endocannabinoid deficiency than men. So we've always been vulnerable with our health as women. We're just much more sensitive. Our hormones are much more impacted by our daily life and our thoughts and our stress. And now we find that this stress translates into a weak and low endocannabinoid system, putting everything out of whack. So if we can restore a healthy endocannabinoid system, which is what hemp extract helps to do, the image is, I like to use, it's like a billiards table, and you have that white ball and you shoot it, and when all the other balls go into the pockets, that's what happens with an endocannabinoid system. Everything starts working better when you can get this system back online. So it's a primary system that controls how our body works on all levels.
It's very exciting. This is a new field. We were at a conference this past weekend, and one of the things that people may be shocked at is that one of the doctors presenting said that CBD, hemp, will be an important daily routine, just as you get up in the morning and you take for many of us, we take our vitamins, we brush our teeth, we do our daily activities, we exercise, we do whatever we need to do to begin our day, our gratitude journal, whatever you choose to do. And she was saying that as women, we really need to start understanding that this hemp may be the balance that we're lacking, as you're talking about, and that it should be incorporated into a daily practice.
Well, I agree, because the endocannabinoids, when we're taking a hemp extract, now remember, this is a product that has no side effects, no known side effects. It does not have any of the psychoactive components to it. It is totally safe, and it helps to regulate inflammation, it regulates our immune system, it regulates our oxidative stress. Now, these are all the drivers to hormonal issues. We think of hormone imbalances as just kind of happening, bad luck, so to speak. But actually, hormonal issues, whether it is PMS, endometriosis, whether it's hot flashes, whether it is polycystic ovarian syndrome, these are all issues driven by inflammation, oxidative stress, compromised immune system, impaired neurotransmitters in our brain, and in
We've
our
got to
gut.
We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will talk a little bit more with Dr. Cheryl Selman about the effects and how powerful this hemp may be for women. Hemp Health Revolution is her new book, The A to Z Health Benefits of Hemp Extract. This is Frankie Boyer, Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. And Dr. Selman, your Facebook page is?
What Women Must Know.
And we'll be right back. Stay tuned. And welcome back. This is Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey with Frankie Boyer. And we are in the middle of a conversation today with Dr. Cheryl Selman. Her new book is out. It's called Hemp Health Revolution, the A to Z Health Benefits of Hemp Extract. And the most amazing things are on the back of Dr. Selman's new book. She has some of the health conditions hemp extract can successfully help. And before I read them, I just want to go back to the seminar that I was at last weekend, and it was called Hemp CBD, a staple for the practice of radical self-care. The practice of radical self-care. And that's what we're talking about. And Dr. Selman, you have on the back of your book, just list some of the different conditions that are helped with this hemp extract, please.
Yeah, happy to do that, because this really is a user-friendly book designed to give people the understanding of all the conditions. So some of the things that I have included in the book include acne, Alzheimer's, bone health. So we go back to women's health. So bone health can be increased through using CBDs. It helps with depression, anxiety. It helps with addictions. It helps with fibromyalgia. It helps manage weight. It certainly improves sleep. It supports any kind of pain. It works with autoimmune diseases such as arthritis, Hashimoto's. It works with endometriosis. It helps with migraines. And one of the biggest things it helps, Frankie, it reduces cortisol levels, which is always what drives stress. And stress underlies all these chronic illnesses. So the CBDs in hemp extract actually can lower the levels of cortisol production, which is so fundamental to radical self-care on a daily basis.
This is such exciting information. This is a new field. There's been so much misinformation, which is why I'm devoting Fridays to this show, and many of you are hearing it on Saturday on different outlets and different times. And what we're doing is we're just having the conversation, what if? What if this plant could actually change my anxiety, my arthritis, my diabetes, my sleep disorders, and my stress? We in this country are not sleeping. We are tossing and turning, and it could be that your body is not really, is missing the missing piece, and hemp extract could be that missing piece.
Yeah, I think, Frankie, we need to go back to the fact of understanding this endocannabinoid system and how it controls all the major other systems of our body. And the fact of the matter is that we are all endocannabinoid deficient. What's called an endocannabinoid tone. Our tone is deficient because of stress, because of nutritional deficiencies. There are a variety of reasons why our endocannabinoid tone is low. And therefore, products like the hemp extract, or CBDs as it's also known, are able to increase and restore this endocannabinoid tone and affect all these conditions. And, my area is women's health. And as we said earlier, women are so medicalized and pathologized for all their issues. And if you have something that can help restore fertility, can help with the PMS symptoms, whatever they may look like, whether it's migraines or cramps or upset stomachs or moods, the CBD is going to help restore balance and alleviate the symptoms. That's for PMS, that's for perimenopausal symptoms, that's for hot flashes, that's for all these issues. They can be brought back into the body can be brought back into balance and harmony through something like the hemp extract, and these symptoms disappear. They're symptoms. We need to pay attention and get our bodies back into balance properly.
And just taking this extract in different forms, and it comes in salves, it comes in tinctures, it comes in pills, it comes in capsules. It has many different varieties, Dr. Selman. Does it matter what we take or how we take it?
Well, I think it does, because hemp extract is an oil, and it often is difficult for people to absorb and digest, especially if you have gut issues. So there are more efficient ways to make sure you can uptake this hemp extract, the active ingredients, and make it bioavailable. So I personally take a liposomal formula, because this liposomal formula, it makes the hemp extract readily available and up to 20 times more bioavailable than other extracts. So like anything, there's potency, there's delivery systems. You need to know what's going on. And I describe all this in the book. I give people some guidelines so they can find the best formula, the best product. And, we talked about this endocannabinoid tone and finding your sweet spot. It's so true. Some people really need to increase their dose quite a lot because they're very deficient. They've been under a lot of stress. They haven't been eating properly. These molecules, these cannabinoids, can come from certain plant products that we eat. So we are designed to have these endocannabinoids working in our body. But if you're not eating well or you're not digesting well, we get deficient. So this is why you want to be able to kind of play with the amount and find what works for you. Again, it's totally safe. You can't overdose on this. If you take more than is required, you may feel extremely relaxed, but that's the worst thing that could happen, which is wonderful to know. You have something that's really safe and effective.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to just share with you that there have been friends that I know that have taken hemp extracts and for not being able to sleep, for being in terrible pain. And guess what? It's working. Yeah. They're getting relief. And you Frankie, you have a chapter in your new book, and I have to just say to anyone out there, I recommend a lot of books, but this is on my top list because this book is really for lay people. This is what this book, Hemp Health Revolution, is. It's a book to educate all of us about what hemp will do, how it will do it. It's so simple, and more importantly, the studies and the research that has been done. Each chapter, the footnotes, the research you've done, Dr. Selman, congratulations. It's just truly wonderful, the work you have put out there for all of us. So, and you have a chapter on patients, on people, everyday people who have had experience and testimonials using hemp extract.
I do, and it's so inspiring to hear people come back. I have one of my neighbors had terrible muscle spasms for a year and on all these heavy pain meds, and he has they're gone. He's alleviated those muscle spasms. He's getting back into life again, which he couldn't do just by taking the hemp extract, and that was only within a week that those results happened. Yeah. And well, Oh, go ahead.
Well, you can't say it now. You have to come back because we're out of time. But you will come back. I can promise you that. We will have Dr. Selman back because this book is so important. Hemp Health Revolution. And they can get it on Amazon?
Yes, absolutely. Get it on Amazon. Go to my website, What Women Must Know. Easily available.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Cheryl Selman. We will be back in a moment. This is Frankie Boyer. You are listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey with Frankie Boyer. And welcome back. It is Frankie Boyer. This is Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. So I have to tell you that we are so fortunate in Massachusetts to have this man as an advocate, because when you are diagnosed, and you know, Dr. Selman was just talking about the benefits of hemp extract. There are more severe cases with pain where a combination of the entire plant will be helpful. But how do you know, and what are the guidelines, and how do you find a group to help you? So there is an organization in Massachusetts that it's called Compassion for Patients. And Michael, help me out with the last name. It's
yeah, it's Michael Latulip.
Latulip, that's right. It's the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance.
Yeah.
So it's a mouthful. It's a mouthful, Michael. But give us an example of what you do and how you help patients in Massachusetts, and maybe this could be the model for the country as well.
Yeah, so personally, I am a patient myself, but I am one of the patients who, can get up in the morning. I can actually go to the dispensary. So I take that into account, in everything that I do when I advocate. And essentially what I do is I take the message of what the patient's voice is, and I bring it to local level, state level, and also federal level, people, and essentially try and explain to them the situation that patients face, the stigma that they face around medical marijuana, the difficulties they have in obtaining the medicine that they need, and kind of, go ahead and ensure that their voice is heard at all levels of government. And in this process, I was actually appointed as the registered patient advisor as well to the Cannabis Control Commission. And so I've been taking that voice and bringing it to the commission and trying to express to them the need to protect the medical program as adult use comes online. So my advocacy kind of varies, I go around, but my general focus has always been to kind of bring the patient's voice to these public officials. Yeah.
Michael, you host a lot of events as well all over the city, educating people. I don't know your schedule. It seems like I'm looking every week. There's something, one or two events going on every single week. Your life is not just 9 to 5, but evenings as well, and weekends. There's all kinds of things going on in the state. But I want to go back to a conversation. So this is, I always say that this program, if you think this is going to be a show, it's the old chink and chong, forget it. It's not. What we're talking about are subjects that help people transition, that help people with pain, that help people that are trying to get off opioids, trying to help veterans, trying to become patient advocates for so many people that are new, that are elderly, this is an equal opportunity problem in every state in this country, and that is using cannabis for medical reasons. And that's what this segment is about. And I cannot be more clear about this. This is about understanding how miraculous this plant can be, but understanding that the dosage is not take this and call me in the morning. It is working with patients, trying to find where their sweet spot, that's the word they're using, sweet spot, where their sweet spot is, where they're getting relief, how many times a day. This is very important. There is an opportunity to create product so that if you do not want to feel high, you won't. There are many different ways of delivery as well. And you just hosted an evening the other night that talked a lot about delivery system and patient advocacy.
Yeah, so the other night we did an event called Invention. We had the inventor of a new meter-dosed vaporizer, the Raya, was there, and we also had a new software platform presenting called Sale Cannabis. And essentially what is missing throughout this process, because you don't have the traditional dosage methods like you have pharmaceutical medicines, essentially the patient is left to kind of trial and error, and figure out exactly what works for them. And so these devices, like what we saw at my event, the metered vaporizer, it presents something that not only would a patient recognize, but also the clinical people as well will recognize. So somebody who's a healthcare provider, they will actually really appreciate that they can meter the dose inhaled by the patient, and then they can repeat the same effect over and over again. And that was something that essentially has been missing from the medical marijuana sphere. It's been, trial and error. And so what we're seeing now is some new technologies develop that I think will put medical marijuana more in a medical context for, in particular, healthcare providers. And this metered vaporizer was fantastic in that sense. I think that was, really tremendous for patients.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. So, the old-fashioned ways of smoking is not the only delivery system today, and I just want people to understand that. There are edibles, there are tinctures. There's so many different ways to take product topically as well, if there's, to use it in lots of different ways.
We find that patients, use it as well, even through suppository. So essentially, there's so many different avenues. And one thing that we see often with patients is that they don't feel comfortable smoking or vaporizing. So they usually eat an edible or they apply a topical. But one thing that we found is that sometimes edibles can be a bit strong for the first-time patient, and that vaporizing and titrating through vaporization to kind of get the patient used to what it feels like.
Michael, explain that word. Explain that word, titrate, because we're not familiar with that term.
Yeah, so titrate essentially means like take one Advil, wait for the effects, and then take another Advil if you don't feel any effects. So in a similar way, if you're using a vaporizer, you would take one puff, wait 10 to 20 minutes before you would take the next puff essentially, and just titrate your level essentially to what you can handle, what each individual patient can handle. That's why we really like vaporization, because you have an immediate effect within 30 seconds to about a minute or so. The patient can start to feel the effect, and that allows them to, essentially titrate things. Whereas with an edible, if you eat too much all at once, you're locked in now for 4 hours.
That's it. That's right. That's right. I want to go back to something that Dr. Selman, our last guest, just was saying, and she wrote her book, Hemp Health Revolution, and what she was sharing with us is that we don't know. We all have an endocannabinoid system. When we don't know, we really don't know how deficient we are in our endocannabinoid system. And so depending on how low you are individually is depending on how much product you will need. And this is a whole new world opening up that many of us did not even realize. And that's what makes this field so incredibly exciting. So it's really about, I have been talking about personalized healthcare and personalized medicine, Michael, for years. And that's what this is. It has to be, because what works for me is not going to work for you and your pain. And so each individual patient needs to find their sweet spot, needs to find what's going to work for them. And that's why when I hear about certain cities and states not allowing patients to get relief, it makes me sad, because you know and I know that there's so much help available. And when we come back from break, let's talk a little bit more about the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance. And Michael can be reached at compassionforpatients.com. He is the development director. We'll be back in a moment. This is Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Stay tuned. I'm Frankie Boyer. Welcome back. It's Frankie Boyer, and I have to tell you, I just love doing this show. It's called Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. And I love it because I'm finding the more that I have been doing this show, the longer I have been doing it, the more information comes out. The power of this plant and how it's helping tens of thousands of people across this country. And it's so important for us to understand the medicinal benefits of medical marijuana. And joining us today is Michael LaTulip, and he is Development Director for the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance. CompassionForPatients.com. CompassionForPatients.com. I can't say it enough. That's what this is about. It's having compassion for those patients, people going through difficult situations, whether it be end of life, whether it be getting off opioids, whether it be chronic pain, whether it be recovering from an operation, whatever the issue may be. Patients have the right to find solutions, and it's about personalized care. And we can't stress that enough, Michael, and welcome back. And I know you're so busy, and I really appreciate your time today.
No problem. I'm excited to be here. And, all I can say is that it's different than traditional medicine. So, how we approach it needs to be very thoughtful and intelligent. And I think that's kind of what makes this a challenge for a lot of patients. So.
Yes. Michael, do talk to us about how it works. If a patient wants to explore their options with medical marijuana, can they go to your website? Can they go to CompassionForPatients.com?
CompassionForPatients.com. And, they can click on a variety of areas of the website, but we have on there a list of recommending physicians. These are registered physicians that are advertising themselves online, essentially to give medical marijuana certifications. That being said, we always suggest that a patient goes to their primary care physician first, sees if they're registered with the program and are willing to give them a recommendation, because believe it or not, there are several primary care physicians who do not advertise themselves as being medical cannabis physicians who will give a free certification to their patients. So that's why we always suggest them first. And then if that doesn't work, usually what would happen is if they're not registered with, their doctor is not registered with the program, they would either recommend, or you could go on your own essentially to one of these cannabis, specialized physicians like Dr. Uma Donabalan. And then once you see the physician, they essentially give you a certification if you qualify. And with your certification, you can apply to the Department of Public Health for your card. And essentially within about 5 business days, you'll get a card, a temporary card, and then within 2 weeks, you will receive your permanent card. This card gets access to regulated medical marijuana treatment centers. There are currently 22 in Massachusetts.
Oh, there are that many.
Yes. So we, every month there's new ones opening. So we say to always check our website for the latest dispensaries. The ones that just opened recently actually are down in the Cape area, Bath and Fairhaven, and I believe Plymouth has a Triple M, which just opened, and they're also opening up a second location in Mashpee. So we are finally starting to see access get to all areas of the state. There's now a dispensary open even in Great Barrington, way out in the Berkshires. So
that's wonderful.
Patients can become registered, then they get access to these facilities. They all have individual unique medicines because they're all vertically integrated. So we would suggest that patients kind of go into the dispensary, maybe with some idea from their physician as to what they're looking for, and, kind of go and do a trial and error initially when they get started, find what works for them, and then continue on that regimen.
Michael, people listening in other states, is every state that has medical marijuana set up the same way as Massachusetts? Is there a compassion for patients in every state or similar organizations?
Yeah, so there's a national organization called Americans for Safe Access, of which we're actually an affiliate. And so they have chapters in states all over the country. So each state is unique. Massachusetts, for example, allows basically any condition to qualify for medical marijuana, whereas some states, like Texas, for example, only allow specific epileptic patients to use CBD-specific products. So each state is different in how they treat it. Obviously, Massachusetts being more progressive, everyone can essentially become a medical patient here if they qualify, whereas in Texas, the qualifications are very slim. And, some of the more conservative states, that tends to be the case. We see CBD-only laws in places like Utah.
Yes.
And so,
what's so amazing about Massachusetts is that it was passed 6 years ago, and we're still just up to 22 dispensaries. It's taken forever, and I think that people were shocked that it got passed because they weren't. Most ballot initiatives do not get passed in the first ballot, and it did in the state. So they were taken aback and surprised and not ready. And so now all of the commissions and all of the different groups are forming, and it's taken a while to get geared up to support the population.
Right. I'd like to add to that because essentially 2012 is when this passed, and at that point the state of the marijuana industry was not very well regulated, and so what the Department of Public Health essentially did here in Massachusetts was create the most regulated medical marijuana program in the nation, and it's taken a little while to get started because of the amount of regulation that went into place.
Yes. But it will be a good thing in the end. Yeah.
Yes. Now
it will be a good thing in the end.
We have some of the safest product and safest,
nice.
access essentially in the nation.
Lovely. Michael, what a pleasure. It is always a pleasure. The Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance, CompassionForPatients.com. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you all. This has been another edition of Cannabis Talk A to Z with Frankie Boyer and Educational Odyssey. Thanks for joining us today. Make it a great day, and as always, smile.
When there are clouds in the sky,